Oh, yes. There are the bits of the rod in there. Holy crap, look at this, guys. Alright, what's up guys? This is Bulbbound Works, and this right here is my first racing mower that I ever built. And for quite a long time, many months, I have had that 20 horsepower V-twin in it. I actually made a video on my channel on swapping it in back in November of 2025 when I actually swapped it in. And you know, it's had a few problems lately. It started running on one cylinder, and then I cleaned the carb and took the head off and put the head back on and did a few things, and then compression improved and it started running on both cylinders again. But yesterday it was really bogging out when I was riding in the road, so I decided to swap in this upgraded engine. It's a 22 horsepower big block. It's the 724cc instead of the 40 series, which is the 656cc, which is that one. And it came from that mower frame over there, which is being scrapped. As you can see, I've taken the tires, the front tires off. I'll be taking the back tires off as well, and that thing's going to the scrap yard. But I pulled this engine, I swapped it in, and the story is, I drove it on the road, it drove beautifully, and then something really bad happened. So it's developed this horrible knocking sound, like this rattling knocking sound. So I turned the key off, but I was like way down the road, and I was like, I really don't want to have to push this. So I risked it, and I started the engine, and I knew it was a bad decision. And I gave it a little bit of gas, a little bit of rev, and it just went grrr, and it made a horrible noise. It puffed out a bit of smoke, and the engine just locked solid. Now, basically, the knocking, I am pretty certain inside was the rod end. The bolts have likely loosened from vibration on the rod end, because if you know how these engines work, if you disassemble them, there's a big end of the connecting rod that rides on the crankshaft bearing, which is basically a bearing in itself, and if that rod gets loose, it'll just wiggle, and then it'll just shear the bolts or break them or snap the connecting rod end itself off, and it'll be done. So basically, this thing is actually not completely seized. It actually does spin. I took the plugs out, and I cranked it over with the key, and I noticed something that was a very, very bad sign. It was only puffing air out of one cylinder, and when I looked inside the spark plug hole of this side, the piston was not moving at all. So obviously the rod is completely disconnected from the crankshaft inside. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be pulling this engine off completely. I'm going to drain all the oil, and right over here I have this donor V-twin. It came off this frame right here. It has a 1 1/8 crankshaft over here, so it actually can't be used for many mowers, which really sucks, and it also means I couldn't just easily transplant a regular engine with a 1-inch shaft right back into that frame, or I would have, you know, put all that together and sold that mower, because that's actually a good mower. I believe it has a good transmission. I have a deck for it, except for sadly it's got to be scrapped because of this silly crankshaft design that's bigger. But the thing with this one, you know, I tried to rebuild it. I bought new head gaskets for it and set the valves and did a bunch of work, but it has low compression, 50 psi on both cylinders. So I suspect either worn piston rings or a camshaft, but likely worn piston rings being the most leading opinion in my mind. I think that's probably exactly what's going on. So over here I got the sump pulled, as you can see, and the bolts are all in here. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna be taking the connecting rods from this engine. We're gonna have to pull the heads. I already got the valve covers off and the push rods. And we're going to be taking the good connecting rods, because these are both 44 series, also known as 724cc engines. I am like almost guaranteed that the rods are exactly the same. I can't fully guarantee it, but knowing Briggs, I'm sure they are. These engines have slight differences. Like, I don't know if we can read this. It's pretty faded, but This one is like a 44R something 77, and this one's like a 44S, I think, 877, or I don't know, something like that. So they are slightly different, but what matters is they're both 44 series. Now, some parts, like the flywheel and that, and the starter, you know, it's mostly universal across V-twins, and those things can be swapped between the 40 and the 44 series. A lot of them share similar design differences, but things like the piston, the cylinder, it's actually physically larger on the 44 series because it's a bigger, you know, 44 means 44 cubic inch, so it means a bigger cylinder. So the pistons won't fit, but the rods, I'm pretty sure, are universal. So we already got that pulled apart. If I take this off, I can show you underneath here. I'm gonna do this with both hands. There we go. There's the rod ends, which are, I know they're off, but they're completely intact. And then the connecting rods are disconnected there. We just got to take the heads off and pop the pistons out with the rods, and then get the little wrist pin, I think, off the little wrist pin that holds the piston to the connecting rod. But we're gonna start by, as you can see, I got this mower jacked up. I got a little oil drain thing here, so we're gonna just, basically I'm just gonna speed run all this. It's kind of boring anyways, just watching. I'm not gonna go, okay, here's the fuel line, here's the wiring or whatever. I'm gonna drain the oil, unbolt the engine, take it completely off the mower. We're gonna set it over there, and we're gonna start disassembling it and just see what's wrong inside, even though I think I know what's wrong. And then we'll try transferring the parts. So let's get into that. Well, guys, we're not even close yet, but I wanted to show you. We got the head off from the dead cylinder side. There's the piston. I got everything else out. You probably saw me fast forward. The push rods, the carburetor's out. All the stuff is out. And this, you know, if you can feel it locks against that. And it doesn't move. I mean, I'm going to show you that right now. It's probably actually going to move a little bit now that see, it's going to move an inch, like a fraction of an inch, but I mean, if you feel how stiff it is, it's not turning at all, and it's super stiff, which is a bad sign. But anyways, let's get that other head off, and we can, the wiring and everything is disconnected, and the fuel is disconnected, obviously. The throttle is disconnected, because the carb's off. We just need to take the 4 engine bolts off, and then we can, there's a pulley on the bottom, and then we can take the sump off and inspect inside. So I'll keep fast forwarding. You know, you want to know one really weird thing that I'm noticing about both sides of these engines, and I don't know if this is just me or not, but both the block surface and the head look like they have very little head gasket material left. I mean, this is down to like the metal, the silver metal. And I know the head gaskets are silver, but there's a little bit of material. And then on this side, there's like a tiny bit of like evidence of it, but it's like worn really thin. So I might have to get some other head gaskets for this. I'm not sure. I don't think that's going to be very good when we reassemble it, but still, we'll keep disassembling it. And it's looking pretty nice and stripped down already, so let's get the rest of that stuff off. Right, here we go. Lifting it up. There we go. It's out. Look at that. I'm going to carry it over to the workspace, and then I'll be back with you guys, because it's really heavy, even without those heads. Alright, you guys, there is the blank mower frame. The empty mower frame, I should say. And there is the engine we just pulled. Here's the donor. This one looks so much bigger because it's still got the heads on it. I gotta get this pulley off, flip it upside down on the flywheel, and then we'll work on pulling the sump. So I'll get you guys situated over here, and then we'll get started on that. That does not sound good. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there was like bits rattling around in here. And that is never ever a good sign on any engine, but it's known. If you're a mower mechanic and you take an engine off the frame and you hear that rattling, that's pretty much engine death, unless you want to rebuild the thing, which is sort of what I'm doing with replacement parts. Let's get this pulley off. I have a feeling we're going to have to use the pulley puller on this, which I have one of those, but let's just see if we can get it off like this first. That is not working, and in fact, we have an oil spill. That's not good. Better clean that up. I really thought I drained all the oil out of this thing, but somehow there was more. Go. That works perfectly. There's our pulley. Let's go ahead and try to tear into the sump, I guess. There you go. There's the sump. And now comes the moment of reveal. What's inside? You ready? 3. I'm a little nervous. 2, 1. Oh, yes. There are the bits of the rod in there. I have to show you this. Guys, I have to show you this up close. This is fascinating. You guys can probably already see some of the carnage there, but this is fascinating. So, amidst all the oil sludge, there are the chunks of the broken rod. And over here we got part of the rod that's completely obliterated. So we gotta push that out there. And then, as for the crankshaft journal, it thankfully doesn't have any gouges that I can get my fingernail in, so that's a really good sign. The other rod looks completely intact. So I'm thinking if we can just get this out and obviously clear all that out with some paper towel on that and push that out of there, then yeah, hopefully we can put the stuff in from there. And I gotta take the head off that one as well. So I'm gonna just manually pick the bits out that I can of this obliterated rod. It's honestly insane seeing this. It's always wild opening up an engine and just seeing all the carnage. And you do not want any of these bits in there because they will grind in some gear. So we have to get all the metal shavings and bits out. Some of them are, there's a lot more than you see actually, because some of them are, there was an entire bolt. So I'm pretty sure, looking at this, my theory was exactly right about the end cap getting messed up somehow. Look at all these tiny bits. So, see if we can push this out. Come on, piston. Here it comes. There it is. There's the piston. Wow. Guys, look at that. Holy crap, that just literally snapped like that. Rings feel fine. Probably want to clean up that little bit as well, some sandpaper, but wow. That is wild. I'm definitely keeping the other one in there. So now, I'm going to save that piston, but I got to clean all the metal stuff out of here with this paper towel. So, we'll try to do that. Oh yeah, feel how smooth that is. Nice. That's much smoother. Beautiful. That's so much better. So let's align those timing marks. Where's the dot? There it is. And I'm actually going to pull the camshaft out. That's why I'm aligning those marks. I want to make sure this camshaft... Oh god! Holy crap, look at this, guys. Don't know if you can see that. The entire camshaft is bent. Now that is some insane carnage. Wow, I was not expecting that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's supposed to be a little compression release thing there, which there is definitely not. So that's not too good. That's not reusable at all then. There's our little lifters in there. So with all this out, I'm gonna try to take the head off this engine over there. And once we get that off, we're gonna see if we can put the piston in there. So let's get started with that. Now you guys can tell me in the comments, I was just working out, I'm gonna take the exact cylinder on this engine, piston and connecting rod for this engine. I don't know, you guys let me know in the comments, can you interchange cylinders and pistons? I don't know if you can. I never even really thought about that. I mean, can you put one piston, that's what I'm asking, can you put one piston and one connecting rod from a cylinder in the opposite cylinder and have it work correctly, or like does it line up? You guys can tell me, I actually don't even know. I've done several engine rebuilds, but you know, I've always done it correctly, so done each side correctly. So let's get this head off. Actually, we gotta take the carb off. Well, we're definitely going to be using this camshaft because the other one is completely destroyed. That was really wild. So I'll place that there for now and we'll see if we can get this piston out. Should be really easy. Yep, there it is. Very easy. Look at that. That is perfect. I feel like a total mechanic right now, like with these engines open. I don't do this super often. I mean, I have totally opened engines up before, but like, it's so cool seeing this. I feel like I'm rebuilding something, even though I'm not really doing something that's all that cool, but it's just so fascinating. Cool. All right, let's bring this piston and connecting rod over to the other engine, which is over there, and then see if we can install it. All right, now this is gonna sound weird, but I actually don't have a piston ring compressor tool. So I'm going to see if I can just put this in here, like this. Now I know you're not supposed to hammer pistons, but I'm not necessarily doing this by the book either. got to go really slowly and carefully. And we actually got one ring in, so that proves you can do it. I think we did it. It's in. I'm gonna try to rotate. Yeah, now that certainly feels like a solid connection. Alright, I think I got it the right way. The rod placed on half of the crankshaft journal, so now we're just kind of screw it in. Now I want to share a little tip. If you're doing this yourself, which you gotta really, you want to know what you're doing if you're doing this, but if just a little tip in case for you guys in case you didn't know, you really want to make sure those rod bolts, the bolts that hold the end cap onto the crankshaft, you need to make sure they're very tight, because otherwise with vibrations, you can even use Loctite on it. I prefer not to do that, but you want to make sure they're really tight on there, because they can absolutely come off with vibration, especially on this kind of build, because it's going to be running at really high RPM. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure that the rod bolts are very tight. Okay, I've tightened those pretty good. I'm going to snug them down a little bit before I put it together any further, but I just want to test to see if this still will rotate round. That's my main thing. It's completely stiff. So, I think I did something wrong there, so that's why I'm checking this along the way. So we're going to take that whole thing off. It doesn't look perfect either, and inside these engines, the geometry has to be pretty much perfect for it to work. Like, everything is super precisely engineered. So this looks a tiny bit off compared to the other one, and I know it's not the other rod causing the issue, because that one moves freely when this isn't attached. So let that bolt out. So I'm going to try reversing the direction of this, and that might help. See how this is. Already looks like it fits better. Let's see how that is. Nope. Still does not want to move. That's interesting. I guess I'll figure this out off camera. Fiddle around with it, and I'll let you guys know what I end up figuring out. Alright, as you can see, it is now later afternoon. I'm restarting my video for you guys to update you with the progress. So, the short takeaway is, this block is toast. I'm really sad to say. I'll show you exactly why, but I've spent a long time working on all this stuff. It's been a lot. So much swapping and fiddling. So basically, what I discovered, and I forget, I'll take this out if I said it already in the video. I actually don't remember from this morning. I've done so much since then. But basically, on the crankshaft, this is actually what I feared when I thought about this even before I even took it off the mower. The journal of the crankshaft is basically scored and gouged and has little bumps. So when you tighten both bolts, it becomes impossible to move and it's just super stiff. So this crankshaft is done. The connecting rods I don't think are done though. It rotates on the one connecting rod but not the other, so just that area is just done. But the worst part, I actually, dumbly enough, I did not even see this. There is an entire chunk out of that. So that is very bad. That's terrible. That's like, yeah, this block is done. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but there was like some little cracking in the casting here. I mean, it's not fully cracked. And also down there where the camshaft rests. See, there's a crack there and there, because that camshaft was just so bent. So this block is toast, really sadly, because it's blown up. You know, this has got the silly, annoying 1 1/8 crankshaft. I'm absolutely keeping all the parts from this because, you know, I know exactly how handy these things come in handy, you know, when maybe something else will blow up or maybe something will need a camshaft, you know. That's why I keep all these parts around. But both these engines are parts engines at this point. And there is the 20 horsepower V-twin. I'm going to revisit that one because it does have the dead cylinder. These are 44 series, like I said, and that's a 40 series or a 40 cubic inch. So the heads themselves aren't compatible, and neither are the pistons or anything. But I'm going to try to fiddle with the carb a little bit. That's not for today's video, though. So I'll probably actually put out a text post after I've posted this video if I get the racing mower up and running. If I get an engine in it, or, you know, for now it's just a frame. I got to put all this away and find a place to put all this stuff. I don't want to just leave it in the rain because these parts will rust. They're not meant to be outdoors. I mean, the engine's meant to be outdoors, but it's covered by tons of shrouds and everything. So I learned that from experience. These heads, these push rods, everything will just rust by sitting outdoors. So I gotta put it in a safe parts place. But everything here is worth it. I mean, I know that these heads themselves go for $60 on eBay. Like, you could sell these on eBay for $60. You know, I'm pretty sure they work fine. You know, I'd have to test them, and I'm not just gonna blindly sell them, of course. But yeah, so anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a fail, but sometimes in life you just fail, you know. And I am not ashamed of failure, you know. That's just part of what happens with these engines and this tinkering. So yeah, thanks so much guys for tuning in. Please go ahead and give this video a like. Comment down below if you have any thoughts. And definitely go ahead and subscribe to my channel to continue helping me build my channel. Thanks so much guys for watching, and have a great day. I'll see you in my next video.